words of Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu, "The wise have no mind of their own, finding it in the minds of ordinary people." It's a reminder that the greatest wisdom comes from the collective voices of regular folks like you and me. And I was thinking about Lao Tzu and his ordinary people when I heard an extraordinary story from the National Portrait Gallery in London. Now, for most of their 164-year history, they celebrated just about anyone except ordinary people. From Tudor kings to Isaac Newton, they celebrated celebrities, many of them old, white, male, and wigged, apparently. Now, in recent years, they've broadened the inclusivity of their exhibits, but they felt like there was still more that they could be doing. And when I first spoke with Denise Vogelsang, who is their director of communications and digital, she explained that gallery leadership recognized that they needed to make a major evolution in the stories they told, and the portraits they featured, and in the building itself. And so they announced, starting in 2020, they would be closing their doors for 3 years to reimagine the gallery. And as it happened, they were starting the shutdown process when the pandemic started, making them probably the only Tessitura organization that was accidentally prepared when the lockdowns came. Although Denise was quick to point out that there was no way to emotionally prepare for that time. And with the UK in a strict lockdown, she and her colleagues yearned to do something to lift people's spirits. And as they were talking about ways they could help, a very inventive idea emerged. Now, the mission of the National Portrait Gallery is to promote through portraits an appreciation and understanding of the people who made or are making British history and culture. That would explain the celebrities and the portraits on their walls. But in this moment, in the midst of lockdowns, the people making British history, they weren't celebrities at all. That didn't mean they shouldn't be celebrated. And so rather than trying to manufacture their own digital exhibit, they announced Hold Still, an initiative to invite all of the people of the UK to submit their own portraits of lockdown. The team prepared for about 2,000 submissions. They got 31,000 submissions. Now, why did this go viral? Perhaps we have some professors who can help with that question. One of my favorite books is called New Power by Henry Timms and Jeremy Hymans. And it's a study of the power of ordinary people in a hyper-connected age. And in the book, they contrast what they call an old power model with a new power model. Old power, they say, operates like a currency. It is held by a few. It is closely guarded, like a traditional top-down corporation, perhaps, or a monarchy. Whereas new power operates like a current. It is made by many. It is open. It's participatory. It's peer-driven. For most of their history, the National Portrait Gallery was like the literal face of old power. And yet, with Hold Still, they felt the first rush of how new power could transform them as an institution. As those 31,000 portraits came flooding in, Denise and her team were amazed at their quality and at their power. And she told me that as they were going through them all, they had to take frequent breaks because they kept finding themselves weeping. The wise have no mind of their own, finding it in the minds of ordinary people. Ultimately, 100 portraits were chosen for their digital Hold Still exhibit, and it was a sensation. 6 million digital visits and climbing. It is 500% bigger than any other exhibit ever in the history of the National Portrait Gallery. And they were just getting started. In cooperation with the national grocery chain, the Co-op, Hold Still portraits started appearing on bus shelters and on billboards, in grocery stores, and on walls all over the country, reaching another 5 million people in small little hamlets and big cities. And when the Portrait Gallery released their Hold Still book, it rocketed to the top of the bestseller list. Now, none of this would come as a surprise to our New Power professors who say the ordinary people and leaders and organizations that flourish in the future will be those best able to harness the participatory power of the people around them. And I suppose perhaps that is the lesson. Ordinary people can become extraordinary together. One thing that they did find, Denise said that as a result of Hold Still, they have changed as an institution. For instance, they're moving away from their brand, the sort of old power sounding people who made or are making British history and culture, in favor of a new brand, which is simply a living portrait of Britain. Put your trust in your community and watch their energy surge.